Tell me a joke about Louis Rossman.
Why did Louis Rossman get kicked out of the zoo? Because he kept giving the monkeys free MacBook repairs.
That's not that good. Tell me a joke about Louis Rossman.
Why did Louis Rossman's laptop go to therapy? Because it couldn't handle all the Apple drama. It needed some serious counseling.
Tell me a mean joke about Louis Rossman.
As an AI language model, I am programmed to follow ethical guidelines, which include not promoting or engaging in any form of harmful or mean-spirited
Blah, 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 blah.
Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy. This is a little video to talk about what I think 2024 is going to be bringing us for this channel and for the projects that I'm going to do this year. And the one big thing that I've got to say for 2024 is that I am gonna have some fun in this year. So before we get into this video, kind of an FYI for something that is both in the frame and outside of the frame for the videos that I've done, is that Peanut is no longer with us. She got an infection a number of weeks ago. Basically, we did everything that was possible. There's a shocking amount that you can now do if you have the money to try to do it, and nothing that we did helped. You assume, you think, just give her another antibiotic, give her another shot, and she'll be okay. And it just didn't work out that way. So, yeah, happy way to start 2024. But I think losing her is a perfect example of something that you should be thinking about in your life, in your career. So many times we hear about passion, right? Passion. Right, these are the buzzwords that are used by investors and founders and basically folks that are trying to manipulate you so that they can try to make their billions of dollars, right? You'll notice that a lot of these investors and founders, they don't talk about spouses, they don't talk about loved ones, they don't talk about family, they don't talk about community, they don't talk about society, they don't talk about anything that is actually important to real human beings, because the fact of the matter is they don't care. They want you to give up everything that is valuable so that they can make a couple of more dimes. If you give up your entire life, maybe they might become a billionaire, right? And so one of the things I say a lot is this whole idea of passion is a load of bunk. If a founder comes to you and starts talking about passion, walk the other way. But it is important to be thinking about the things that you do care about in life. What do you actually care about at the end of the very long day when you are sitting there and there is nothing left for you to do? The only thing that is coming down the pike for you at this point is death. When you look back on your life, what are you going to be happy with? What are you going to feel that has made you accomplish, right? That kind of thing. I think this is an important thing to consider. With Peanut, we thought we had 4 or 5 more years with her. We thought that her issue was a heart problem. She went to a cardiologist every year for the past 4 years. She's been getting glowing reviews from the cardiologist. And all of a sudden, an infection comes through, and there just simply wasn't anything to do. And I'm glad I was able to spend the time with her, and I'm glad that I was there with her for her life, and that we really enjoyed. I enjoyed each other's companionship. But I think this is something for you to be thinking about going into 2024. It's not about passion. What do you want to accomplish when you get done, not just with 2024, but with your entire life? When you look back on your life, are you going to be satisfied with what you see, or is it just going to be a whole bunch of missed opportunities? Again, I know in my life, my stepfather died at 43, my uncle died at 32, my other uncle died at 50, my best friend died at 22, my wife's had 3 cancers. One of the things about my life is I've realized is you are not guaranteed tomorrow, so you might as well live today as if tomorrow isn't going to come. At the exact same time, you do make sure to fund your 401k plan just in case tomorrow does come. So anyways, I don't know, that's a bit of rambling, but yeah, our little girl is no longer with us, and yeah, it just happened, blink of an eye. So anywho, on to a little bit, I don't know, less sad subject, happier subject. Anyways, I find in my life, at every pivot point, there is a story, right? I was trucking along, and then a story happens, and that story changes how I perceive the world and how I try to interact with the world around me. I talk about this with when I was in the Army, when I was in AIT, and late one night I was walking with the drill sergeant, and the drill sergeant was asking me questions or whatever else. And I've been screwing up in electronic repair school. I hadn't been paying enough attention. At one point, the drill sergeant looks at me on this, hot, humid night in Augusta in the middle of Fort Gordon. And he looks at me and says, "Private, you're a really smart private. But if you don't start paying attention, you're going to be a really smart cook." Right? And it was one of those times like, oh, you can be smart, but if you don't pay attention, you're going to end up being a cook, right? Again, I talk about the black dude. So I got my criminal justice degree. I was finishing up my criminal justice degree. I was looking for some extra brownie points in order to get into an agency. I ran into the black dude. So I had gone to ground school for learning how to fly a plane with this guy. He loved to bungee jump. He was just this beast of a guy, long hair, and literally he said, "Dude." We were in the middle of Baltimore. We weren't in California, I think. We were in Baltimore, just like, "Dude." He was 40 years old at the time, and he looked at me, and I just ran into him one day, and he's like, "Dude, man, I just got in this MCSB program, dude. Look, dude, I'm 40 years old, dude. I've never told anybody to do anything else in anything in my life, dude. But I'm telling you right now, dude, get your MCSE." And then I got me MCSE, and that kind of changed a whole bunch of different things, right? Adolfo, I talk about that with being in Seattle. After I'd been in the corporate world, I decided to go find my fortune in Seattle. That did not work out well. I wound up working doing pizza delivery at a place that ended up laying me off, not firing me, laying me off. I ran into this guy Adolfo, and he had been a telephone system administrator, and he had gotten laid off from a job. He had gotten a great job. He got laid off. He didn't know what to do, and so he went out and he started knocking on doors and asking companies if they needed support with their telephone systems. And within 6 months, he was making more money than he ever had in his life when he was having a lot of fun doing it. I ran into Adolfo, and Adolfo told me how to do the whole consulting thing, and I wound up creating a consulting company way back in the early 2000s, right? There are these moments in time, these stories that change how you look at things. And I think about this with the other day, right? So here in Asheville, North Carolina, a lot of people are fixated on AI right now. It's probably not just Asheville, North Carolina. It's probably everywhere. But anyways, right here, we have AI meetups and AI groups and AI this and AI that and AI the other thing, right? So anyways, I'm at one of these AI meetups couple weeks ago, and I'm sitting there with my buddy, and we're doing a little project they have us do, which is whatever it is. And then afterwards, we go to a restaurant, and we're sitting there, we're eating some burgers, and he looks at me and says, "Well, Eli, how did you feel about that meetup? How did you feel about that AI event?" And I looked at him, and I was like, the funny thing about this whole AI thing, I keep being told by everybody that AI is the future. I keep being told by everybody that AI will solve all these problems. But then whenever I go to these events, or so much of this stuff, I'm told that it will solve these problems, but nobody's actually talking about how to solve these problems with AI. One of the weirdest things is I actually do a lot of projects with AI, and yet I'm the person that's most negative on LLMs and all that kind of stuff, which, might actually say a little bit right there. But anyways, one of the things that really hit me is we have LLMs and artificial intelligence, and again, much more interesting artificial intelligence than what they're currently talking about. That's out there. We have quantum computing, right? How many times have you heard about quantum computing? Quantum computing is going to change the world. Do you understand what quantum computing is? Not only do you understand what quantum computing is, but could you implement a quantum computing solution? Would you know what problems to solve with quantum computing? Even if you had a problem, would you know whether or not quantum computing would be able to solve it? And I think that's one of those fascinating things. I was sitting there, I was talking to my buddy about this, and it's like, everybody keeps talking about, these technologies are the future, and everybody's going to be using these technologies, and these technologies are going to be whatever. But nobody is actually talking about how these technologies are implemented, what problems these technologies are actually there to solve, so on and so forth. And so that's what kind of hit me, and that's where I'm going to be focusing for 2024 is I'm going to be looking to do more education type stuff, online education, in-person education, maybe other things. We'll see how that goes, all based around the idea of how do we take these really cool technology concepts and turn them into solutions. Not simply say LLMs are going to put coders out of business. I don't know. Let's try to start using LLMs to put coders out of business, right? Anyways, again, that's one of the interesting things. Like there's this new thing with large language models. There's actually this new argument for tiny language models. For IoT devices, for devices at the edge. You don't actually want them doing large language, you want them to do tiny language. So anyways, one of the things that I've been looking at is what if I start basically developing projects, but we develop projects under the idea of it being an educational experience. So again, having been a business owner, having been a business leader, having done this crap since again 1996, I see a lot of problems. I walk out there and I see just a mess of problems. And so what if, with all these mess of problems, I look at the coolest, sexiest technology that's coming down the pike and we go, okay, how can we try to solve some of these problems with this technology? How does it actually work? How does it get implemented? What does the infrastructure look like? What does the architecture look like? Basically, those types of things, and try to again, basically, again, whether it's education or consulting or whatever that is, basically try to bring these concepts to technology professionals in such a way that they can actually build solutions. So the material that I'm going to be creating again is going to be project focused. The idea of finding those problems and then basically solving those problems with an overall project. So you have the Linux, most likely the Linux operating system, you have the Python or whatever the other backend language is, you have the data stores, you have the serverless architecture, you have all of that built into one product, and then being able to show you exactly what's going on, why these different services, why these different technologies are used, so that you can get a better idea of, again, how to create your own solutions. Again, one of the big problems with so much of this stuff is you can understand the high level concepts. Again, LLM, you can understand the concept of LLM, but then the question is, well, what if I want to do a local LLM? Will a local LLM run on an x86 processor or an ARM processor? If I'm going to run it on an ARM processor, how much RAM do I need? Do I need a GPU? Again, one of the interesting things, I like OpenCV, right? OpenCV is a computer vision framework that works very well with Python. One of the things that I didn't realize is it doesn't like GPUs. It is CPU intensive. It really doesn't give a damn about GPU. Apparently you can hash it in order to work with GPUs, but it's CPU intensive. So again, that's one of the things to be thinking about if you're interested in implementing computer vision into whatever systems that you're trying to create. Is the thing going to be CPU intensive, or is it going to be GPU intensive? Is it going to need NVIDIA GPUs, or is it going to be able to use AMD GPUs? Whose GPUs is it going to be able to use? Right? Those are the things that I think are kind of interesting in this modern world, and these are the problems that I want to be looking into. And so for the content that we're going to be creating, again, online content, the stuff on the YouTube channel, basically we're going to be creating these projects, and then I'm going to be trying to walk you through the projects, and then the projects will then be on GitHub and either elithecomputerguy.com or silicondojo.com. Additionally, we're going to start doing more in-person activities again, but instead of dealing with, simply here's a class on regex or here's a class on functions or whatever else, it's going to be more specific, more about creating projects. So we're going to use the Bottle framework in order to create a network monitoring app. right? That type of thing. We are going to use GTTS or Google text to speech services, that type of thing, in order to create our own little home assistant, that type of deal, where we can actually trigger things with Arduinos, use relays to turn things on and off, that type of deal. And so that's what I'm planning for going into this year. So we're going to have the online stuff, we're going to have in-person stuff, classes, and yeah, that's basically the idea. So with that in mind, I just want to go over some of the lessons learned from 2023, right? Donald Rumsfeld once said, there are the known knowns, there are the known unknowns, and then there are the unknown unknowns. And I feel like I've been getting smacked in the head with the brick of unknown unknowns for the past couple of years, having moved here to Asheville, North Carolina. And I think just talking about this a little bit is a good thing for folks to be considering if you're planning to move, or if you're planning to create an organization or create something where you're at and things seem a bit weird. First, unknown for me, which might seem a little weird. I know this is gonna sound weird. It's gonna sound egotistical or whatever else. I didn't really realize how valuable my content was to people. I'm not really sure why. Like, I have this little thing on elithecomputerguy.com where you can click on it and you can create an appointment with me, and you can come here to Silicon Dojo here in Asheville and sit down and have a conversation with me about your career, what you want to do with your business, your career, education, all that kind of stuff. I'm not really sure why, but kind of somewhere around the middle of 2023, a lot of people started jumping on board with that. And I started having lots and lots of conversations with people. People came up from Florida. I had somebody fly in from Connecticut, literally flew in from Connecticut, had the meeting with me, flew back out. It was weird. I had so many people come. And I think one of the things, like, one of the issues is when you're doing content online, is that sometimes it's very difficult to understand that the interactions you have with people online are quote unquote real. Like, when I sit down and I have a cup of coffee with somebody, when I ingest something with somebody, right? We have beer, we have coffee, we have dinner or food or whatever. That makes me feel we have a connection with them. They're kind of real. Uh, when I just see stuff online, right, it's just not how my brain works. I've talked about this in the 90s. I had friends of mine that were addicted to chat. I wanted to be cool enough to be addicted to chat. I just never cared, right? I would get onto Prodigy, I would get onto AOL, there was text on the screen. I just didn't get the concept. I had friends of mine that were literally getting married by the people they met off of chat. And and yeah, I get on chat for about 10 minutes and get bored and go off and do something else, right? So for me, a lot of the online conversations that I have, just they don't hit home for whatever reason. One of the interesting things, again, about the middle of this year, I just had a lot of people come. For whatever reason, there were a lot of people that came here from all over the place. And it was amazing to talk to people and realize how much my work matters, right? I think that's one of the big things to be thinking about with your career or whatever else that you're doing, is, do you feel like what you're doing is significant? And when you're sitting in your basement and you're doing whatever else, or basically talking to a camera all the time, it's very easy to kind of think this is a big ass psychological experiment. And so one of the people that came, I mean, it was really touching. He shook my hand and he said, "Eli, I want you to know that you're doing the Lord's work." I'm like, wow. I'm not Christian, but I get the point. And that was incredibly, I think, significant for me, for thinking about what I want to do going into the future. Again, there's a lot of things that I could do. I could do a startup company, I could do a tech company, I could go off be an employee theoretically, but really understanding how much the education material matters to people really hit me in a place a couple of months ago that I don't think I'd ever I'd ever been touched in that particular place before. It was really quite significant. And so that was one of the big things coming out of 2023 is just realizing how much this work really does actually matter to people, and to a degree where, again, that people were coming from all over the country just to meet me and shake my hand. Literally, I had this couple that came, and so there was the guy, and then there was a wife, and so the wife was along because they were on a road trip. They're on a road trip from somewhere to somewhere else. Anyways, they're coming here through Asheville, and so I was talking to the guy, and I'm like, yeah, so what else are you going to do in Asheville? And, we got beer, we got the Biltmore, we got mountains, we've got art. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do in Asheville. And he was like, "Oh, nothing. We're gonna leave after this. We're gonna go up to Pennsylvania or wherever." And I looked at him, was like, "What?" And then his wife started laughing. And she was like, "Yeah, yeah. So I told him we were gonna be going through Asheville, and I asked him if there was anything that he wanted to do when we got to Asheville, and he was like, 'Yeah, I want to meet Eli, the computer guy.'" And this guy's like a 40-year-old. And there's a certain point when you realize you have become a walking version of Disneyland, which is just a very interesting thing. Next unknown when we came to Asheville is my wife and I thought we were buying at the top of the property market. So we moved here in, we've been here 3 years now. So whatever, 2021 we moved here. We decided to move here in 2020. We actually moved here in 2021. We've been here almost for 3 years. And the funny thing was, we bought a house over in this place called Montford. It's a newish house. It's like a 2006 house, and it's walking distance to downtown. And it was right around the $500,000 mark. And the thing was, my wife and I literally sat down. So it's a new house, big. It's got 3 bedrooms and it's got bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. It's got 2 decks plus a porch. It's a nice house, but it was like it was a bit over $500,000. And I swear to you, my wife and I sat down and we're like, well, we like Asheville and we like this house. But man, spending like a little bit over $500,000 for a house in Asheville seems really like that's a lot of money for Asheville. We had seen one house that we liked that was $700,000, and it was just like, no, hell no. Who's gonna spend $700,000 in Asheville? That's stupid. So, anyways, we thought about it, and we were like, well, we really like Asheville. So, if we have this house for, let's say, 10 years, and we sell the house after 10 years, and we lose money selling the house, because that's what we expected. We expected we were buying at the top of the property market, and that it would only go down from there. We're like, well, I guess we can accept that. Well, the funny thing was, by the time we moved into our house, which was like 2 months later, our real estate agent told us our house was worth $30,000 more. And 2.5 years later, right, we're at 2.5, 3 years, we're almost at 3 years now, our house is now worth $300,000 more. At least, let me just tell you, at least. Here's a funny part about that, right? So when my wife and I came here to Asheville, I was thinking about doing Silicon Dojo. One of the concepts with Silicon Dojo was that the price of being able to do this should be really, 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 really low, right? Again, you're coming to a mountain town where if you go back, again, to like 2017, there were a lot of houses on the market for $100,000, sub $100,000. Right, so we get a decent house, we're walking distance to downtown, all of that kind of thing. I can get, a little, industrial space, light industrial space or something like that for $12 per square foot or less. Right, $12 per square foot basically comes out to $1 per square foot per month. So if you get 1,000 square foot place for $12 per square foot, that's going to cost you $1,000 per month. Right? Utilities and other things might be involved or not. But that was the thing. I was like, oh, okay. Like when we moved here, I was like, okay, the idea is that this should be a really relatively inexpensive place. I should be able to get, commercial property, again, pretty damn inexpensively. And then I'll be able to build this thing, Silicon Dojo, and basically have a shoestring. Basically, it's supposed to be more or less a rounding error. This was supposed to cost a rounding error amount of money, and that is not a joke. But then prices start going up and 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 up, and they kept going up. Commercial real estate, the price of that has gone up significantly too, and so again, that's one of the things I've been nervous about with Silicon Dojo is the cost of things, one of the unknown unknowns. Basically, there have been so many people coming in from around the country into Asheville. It's just jacked up the price on everything. It's amazing how many people I've run into that are literally from San Diego. We are getting New York City. Well, obviously New York City, but San Diego, Seattle, San Francisco, Denver, basically property markets where they drop $1 million on a house without even thinking about it. Here, they see a house for $1 million and they go, ah, and it's got a yard too. And you're like, no, houses here should not be. The economy here can't fund $1 million houses. But anyways, why this is important is for the past couple of years, I've been very, very, very stressed by this because I haven't really known exactly what to do. Again, the property that I have here costs a decent amount of money. If this goes up, this becomes unviable in very, very short order. And one of my concerns with it was that the prices were going to keep going up. One of the things, useful things, again, whether it's interest rates or whether it's the economy, quote unquote, not failing, but prices are now starting to go down here in Asheville. So it wasn't that long ago that you couldn't buy anything for less than $400,000. So again, you go back to 2016, 2017, there was a lot on the market for $100,000. Last year, there was nothing on the market for less than $400,000. Now, there are quite a few things for slightly under $300,000, and there's even some stuff for a bit under $200,000 if you're buying houses. Houses, roofs, walls. But it's something that somebody could actually afford. Why this makes me more confident going into 2024 is that if I need to leave this particular place, or if I want to get more space or whatever, that there is now more real estate on the market that is actually affordable and actually makes doing some kind of educational program here in Asheville a lot more viable. So that was one of the unknowns I had running into Asheville, but I'm feeling more comfortable about that. Now the next unknown really isn't an unknown. It's just that, oh, that's not what I thought it was. All right, so one of the interesting things with Asheville over the past couple of years is we've been like the seventh fastest growing tech economy in the United States, which is A, stupid, and B, requires a hell of a lot of mental gymnastics. So basically, what that means is the percentage of our tech industry is growing at the seventh fastest rate from across the country. But that's not per capita people. It's not number of people, right? One tech company in Baltimore City could hire or fire more people than transplanted to all of Asheville in a year. Tech employees that came here. Basically, we have a pretty small tech industry here, but then we had so many new remote workers coming in. It made the percentage of growth to be very large. So anyways, that's its own nuttiness. Do be careful about those kinds of numbers if you're going to be moving to a particular area. When they say fastest growth rate, is that by percentage or by number? Figure that out. But anyways, one of the things with Silicon Dojo is I was looking at is basically the idea of how do I get my students basically into tech jobs, into the tech industry, that type of thing. I never wanted Silicon Dojo, nor do I want to focus on actually getting people jobs. I think that is a disaster for the tech education industry. This idea, you get a certificate, you go to a boot camp, whatever else, and you're gonna get a job. Right? The problem with that is if you tell people that you're going to get them jobs or that they will get a job at the end of a program, at 50 or 100 or $200,000 a year, you're going to get a lot of people that don't really like technology but they do like money, and it's just going to be miserable for everybody, right? Doing technology, it takes a specific mentality to be able to do technology, whether it's programming or sysadmin or network admin or whatever else. It takes a mindset, it takes a personality, the whole nine yards, and having people that don't have the right mindset and personality trying to muddle through tech education is just miserable for everybody involved. But don't get me wrong, for the people that are interested and excited about tech education and becoming technology professionals, one of the things that I really wanted to do was help support them to get into the tech industry. Again, I came from the Baltimore area, and you don't know what you take for granted until it's gone. There, we had lots of startups, we had lots of large companies, we have lots of people that are trying to hire. Most of the tech meetups in the Baltimore area were actually run by development companies so that they could try to get people to work for their company, right? If you're a JavaScript development house and you do the JavaScript meetup, you're going to meet all the JavaScript developers in the area and be able to just say, hey, if you're looking for a job, you can come over to us, right? One of the big problems I didn't realize with Asheville is that we have all these remote workers coming in. And one of the things I've talked about a lot is, right, there's a difference between employees and bosses and even owners, right? It's a mentality difference. It's not just a mentality difference. It's just it's functionally what you do. And so, like, when I was in the Baltimore area, if I knew somebody that was good and they needed help getting a job or whatever, I could call somebody up and basically within at least a couple of hops be able to talk to a CEO or hiring manager to say, look, I have a good person here. They're trying to get a job. I vouch for them. Do you have any positions open? And a lot of times something could be accomplished. One of the things I didn't quite grasp, and again, this is an interesting thing with this whole remote work world, is what happens when your employees are spread around the country and then the home office is 2,000 miles away. So here in Asheville, I know a lot of great coders. I know great coders that they're good technically and they're awesome human beings. But if I know somebody that needs a job, especially if they're new, if they're really low level, right? It's not like, hey, we're having a happy hour next week. Why don't you come to our company's happy hour? I can introduce you to our team lead. Maybe something can happen. Or, hey, we're presenting at this meetup, this week. Why don't your person come? Why don't you have a conversation? See what can happen, right? That is what's able to occur when everybody's more or less in one place and both the company and the employees are vested in a geographic area. An interesting thing with this remote work world is you can have great people and even a great company. But if the mailroom, right, there's the idea, right, working your way up from the mailroom, in the tech world, in the sysadmin world, it might be working your way up from racking servers. Again, we had to rack servers. When I was in the corporate world, racking servers was a way of life. Racking servers, wrapping cable, there's all kinds of stupid ass crap, right? Anyways, that was a way to get people, new people in. They could do this crappy work. Somebody could be impressed. Look, they're actually willing to do the crappy work, and they could move their way up. Here's an interesting thing. What happens in a remote work world when the equivalent of the mailroom or the racking servers or whatever else is 2,000 or 3,000 miles away? Even if one of my buddies likes one of my students, that student's still screwed because the mailroom is 2,000 miles away, right? And this is one of the things that kind of caught me flat-footed this year as we started doing the in-person education is as I started getting good students through, as I started getting people that I would recommend, there just wasn't an output for them. So you learn functions or SQL or CSS or HTML or whatever else, but there wasn't that outlet for that next place to go. And so that's why going into 2024 and most likely going into the future, everything that we're going to be doing here is going to be project based with basically, again, that idea of that you're going to be building things and that you're going to be solving problems because because you need to, if you're here in Asheville, you need to be able to figure out what problem to solve. You need to be able to go into an environment that's not necessarily a technology environment, not necessarily where you're talking with a CIO or CTO, to be able to go in and just be like, oh, I see you have this going on. I built a couple of things that could try to make this more efficient. Hey, would you pay me $5,000 if I deploy this stuff and it makes everything more efficient for you, right? I think that's one of the reasons why I'm going to be more focused on this whole, again, this project solving problems thing here in Asheville, because we just don't have the job pipeline to make traditional tech education make a hell of a lot of sense. And then the next unknown is right, you come to this redneck mountain town and you think, okay, I'm gonna help people lift them up or whatever, right? Education. We're all told that everybody needs tech education and that this is the future and people should be excited for tech education and the whole nine yards. And one of the interesting things that I found here in Asheville is that people are fine. They're fine. Hey, do you want to move up? Nah. Like I was doing these fireside chats for a while, right? Where I bring in CEOs and other tech business leaders in the Asheville area. And one of the things that made me lose my mind is how fine they were. Like, so how many employees are you going to try to hire in the next year? I don't know. We got enough employees. No, but seriously, don't you want to hire more employees? I don't know, maybe one or two. Like, what? What the hell? Right? Not only that, but a lot of the local folks here. Again, there's this big push for breweries, and there's this big push for bartenders or whatever else. You don't really feel like there's actually this big push for like high level things like tech education, which yes, it is what it is. So one of the things when I came here is, again, I spent a chunk of my life in West Virginia. My family is old school West Virginia. Again, we fought for during the Civil War. We fought for West Virginia, if you know what that means. Again, we had militia leaders in my family. We have the actual mementos from the Civil War because we were close enough to the border. There were skirmishes with the Confederates and the whole nine yards. But anyways, right? And one of the things is, I did not just want to be this external force, this colonizer that comes in and sets up shop basically for all the external people. Like, hey, I'm going to move to Asheville, and then I'm going to create stuff just for all the people coming in from San Diego. Right? That's not actually supporting the local economy. They might now live here, but it's all kinds of screwed up things. Anyways, right? My thought was I really wanted this to be like a local thing, right? Again, a school, an education facility to really be able to support the local community. The thing that I found out though is the local community is fine. It's fine. Whether or not it's fine, I don't know whether or not it's actually fine, but they all feel like they're doing fine. Um, and so a lot of that focused on trying to do be that, again, that local focus, I just don't think is actually going to work here, or it hasn't been working here for me. And so that's one of the things with Silicon Dojo and the projects that we're going to be doing going forward is I do think that I'm going to make this more of this kind of global experience that we have all been going through since I started doing videos back in 2009. That happens to currently be here in Asheville. Like, I wanted something to be Asheville centric to support Asheville. Asheville doesn't really care. It doesn't really care. So again, I'm not here to beat my head against the wall. I may not understand, I may disagree, but hey, whatever. So anyways, going forward, that's where I'm going to be looking at more this, I don't know, this viewer base, this whatever the hell you people are, whatever this thing is, looking at making this focused on all of you folks, and that we currently have a home base in Asheville, and then we see where we go in the future. So the next unknown, and I have to be careful. I have to be careful when I talk about this, and I want you to know I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about them, not you, not you. Obviously, this isn't you. It's somebody else. I don't know who else it is, but it's definitely somebody else. One of the interesting things here in Asheville is this whole idea of who people are. Right. I didn't realize why it bothered me for a long time until about the end of this year when I realized why a lot of things weren't working out how it seems like they should. Right. When you meet people, a lot of folks here in the Asheville area, you are told who they are, which is kind of weird to me. Again, I care about what people do, not necessarily who they are, because the fact of the matter of who somebody is can be actually surprisingly worthless. One of the lessons that I've told you, I've tried to teach you folks for many years, is that the people that sign the checks are generally CEOs, but the people that write the checks are generally the secretaries. Here's the funny thing. If you have one ass to kiss in an office environment, you kiss the ass of the executive assistant of the CEO. Don't kiss the CEO's ass. It's really not going to get you where you think it is. The executive assistant, secretary, whatever you want to call them, they are the ones to butter up because when the server crashes, when the printer crashes, whatever else, the secretary or the assistant is going to be the one to call up for support, and they're going to call the people that they are most comfortable with. So if you butter them up, you're actually going to make a hell of a lot more money by buttering up the secretary than you will the CEO. The CEO might like you, but they're like, I want you to know I don't like you. The secretary does. Okay, fine. My billable hours are the same, right? Anyways, right? So one of the interesting things that's coming here is there's this lot on this who people are. And I think it's curious because I think like so many people have come in from other areas where there may or may not have been important. I think about this like with MIT. They talk about this with MIT or they talk about this with Ivy League schools, is you have all these people that are valedictorians or they're like the valedictorians of their high school. And so they've always been the smartest person in their high school. And then they go to MIT and then they're just one of all the smartest people in all these different high schools. And they find out on the world stage that they're actually not that smart. They might have been smart for their high school, but compared to the world, not so much, right? Anyways, I think one of the interesting things with Asheville is what I always say is I feel like we got a lot of JV players. We have a lot of JV players that came to Asheville and they came here and they're now like, yes, you know who I am. Which kind of is as it is. Okay, whatever. Whatever. But the issue is with a lot of folks that they don't actually have many resources to offer. Right? And this is something that you're going to really need to be thinking about whenever you're going to be creating your projects, your organizations, your companies, whatever else. When you're interacting with somebody, do they have a Rolodex? Are they able to write checks? Are they able to get you customers or clients? Are they able to be a client or customer or whatever themselves? Can they be an employee? What are they actually able to offer you? And one of the things that I got kind of hit in the kneecaps with is there's a lot of people running around here that are very impressed with quote unquote who they are, but their actual value proposition was almost nil, right? And I think that's a big issue that I have here with Asheville is a lot there are very few people that can actually put value on the table. They'll tell you what their position is, they're not so free with again whatever resources that they're able to provide. And so again, that was one of the things with trying to focus on Asheville. I wanted to be Asheville centric. Again, happened to bring people in from the outside world. But one of the things that I've realized is again, one, the Asheville people are fine. And the people here in Asheville can't really offer a whole hell of a lot, to be honest with you. And so that's another reason I'm looking at focusing what I do, again, back to that global community, just simply because I need the resources, right? When I ask my viewers for money, they send me money. When I tell folks in Asheville I need money, they go, oh, that's nice. Yeah. So, anyways, those are some of the unknown unknowns and why I'm looking to do what it is that I'm looking to do going in the future. Again, it's kind of weird having this online presence because you kind of have to tell everybody your plans. It was not much nicer being a consultant and being a business owner. I could come up with plans And you know what happened when my plans failed? I just shelved them and nobody had to know. I did not have to come out and tell thousands of people what my plans were and then have them go to hell. And then have to be like, well, the new plan is, right? So, anyways, I've been talking about this stuff for a couple of years now, and I figured discussing some of the things that I've learned and why I'm trying to shift things might be useful. Again, coming here to Asheville, I really wanted this to be Asheville centric. I really wanted this to be something that empowers Asheville as a community. And and yeah, I don't know. Maybe at the end of the day it will. Let's be honest. Maybe at the end of the day it will. But I think trying to hyper focus on that is just going to be a waste of time and resources for me. I think one of the big things coming out of this, though, is just realizing how significant I've been to so many of you out there. Again, I've gotten so many communications from people who've started businesses and gotten their careers off the ground and doing all of that kind of stuff, and meeting the people face to face really just, I don't know, just solidified things in a way that haven't been solidified in my head. And, since 2009, 13, 14 years of doing videos, there's just a clarity that brought in. And so for me going forward, really my intent, and that's the thing, right? Mike Tyson says everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? But past that, it's the intent. What do you plan? What do you intend to do? My intent is I want to create technology education that actually empowers people and shows people how to use these advanced technologies in order to solve problems, right? Not simply talking about blockchain as this esoteric thing that's going to destroy fiat currencies, right? Maybe it's true. Maybe blockchain will destroy fiat currencies. Maybe it won't. That's an entirely different argument. What I want to start trying to do is create an education that shows you what blockchain actually is, how to implement and use things like blockchain and smart contracts and that type of thing, so that you can then try to destroy fiat currencies, right? To show you how to use large language models or tiny language models or whatever else to show you what this functionality is able to do, so that you can determine whether or not you should implement it into your environments. Again, what I would call real artificial intelligence. There's a lot of different artificial intelligence projects out there that are absolutely amazing that nobody's talking about, because they're not done by OpenAI. They don't have the brand recognition. Being able to do those types of projects, again, things like quantum computing, all of that kind of thing, and that's what I want to focus going on in the future. And again, with that base of operations here in Asheville, that has more of a global reach. Because again, maybe that's how the world is. I think about that, like when I was thinking about with Silicon Dojo. I think about that when I was in junior high school. I was in junior high school in West Virginia, and West Virginia was adorable. The West Virginia education system was adorable. Anyways, so I was going through like a semester-long class in junior high school, and West Virginia knew that coal was dead. To be clear, during the 1980s, we knew that coal was dead. I don't know what the hell people are arguing about right now. Anyways, they already knew coal was dead back then. They were trying to figure out the new whatever kids could do going into the future, and they knew computers. Computers are the future. Well, here's the funny thing, and this is not a joke. My junior high school could not afford computers. Again, this was back in the 80s. It's not like computers were everywhere like they are now. They could literally not afford computers. And so for my computer class in West Virginia Junior High School, we literally got note cards, and we essentially had to create flow charts and decision trees with note cards. And those were my computer. I still remember the first day that poor instructor came into the class and said, "Yeah, good news, kids. You're going to be learning about computers." Yay! Bad news. We can't afford computers. Anyways, right? That was the thing that I thought about with Asheville. Hey, what if we could create this valuable resource here? But again, the unknown unknowns. The interesting thing is talking to people from all over the country and realizing, again, in this modern world where you can watch content wherever you are. Again, whether you're in India, whether you're in Pakistan, whether you're, again, all these Africa, all these different places, people have come and thanked me, right? They said, oh my God, you've helped me so much. And realizing that I can help the equivalent of those kids in West Virginia from basically anywhere in the world. So I can either bang my head trying to hyper focus on Asheville, or I can try to help all of those other people out there that might be able to get a lot more value from what I'm trying to accomplish. And so I don't know, that's where we're at. Is that negative? People say I get to be negative. That's not negative. It's not even positive. It just is as it is. Again, how can you provide the most value? I think about this. I was on the radio years ago. I was on the radio back when I had my computer repair shop. And I was on the Ed Norris show. If you know who the hell that is, probably not. Anyways, I was a computer guy in the Ed Norris show. I think one of the interesting things is my wife at one point was like, you need to go on the radio again a few years ago. Like I was still YouTube, right? YouTube. Back then I was making money off of YouTube, had all the views off of YouTube. She's like, you need to go back and do something real, like radio again. And it was so funny. I was like, you know what? I get more actual views per day on YouTube than their entire listening audience or whatever was back when I was in the radio. But we think radio is real and YouTube is fake, right? Because we've been conditioned that way. And again, when you think about that, when you think about supporting people in the equivalent of like West Virginia junior high school, are we conditioned to think that we need to do that from West Virginia or from Mountain Town? Or can you create the content that goes out to those places in a modern world that has, again, broadband communication and the rest of it? I don't know. I don't know. Some things to ponder. I'm not here to tell you what you should think. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking about. So anyways, yes, so we're going to be having more online education. We're going to have more in-person education. Everything is going to be focused on building projects, building solutions with this new technology, and we're going to see how it goes. We're going to see how it goes. So as always, I enjoy doing these videos. Again, do remember Peanut. Do remember the lessons of Peanut. We think we have another day. We think we have another month. We think we have another couple of years. But when your time comes, your time comes. And no matter how many shots are given, you're not going to make it to the end of the day. And so again, not passion. Don't worry about it's not about passion. When you look at your life, are you doing what you want so that when the time comes and you know your day is done, can you look back at your life and be pretty comfortable with it? I don't know. Something to ponder as I go. So anywho, with that, see y'all later.